Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Card Dad. We have got Rick Probstein back on the show to talk Snype. A little bit of a Q&A this week. From last week's show, we had I thought some pretty good questions that popped through in the comments section. So what we're going to try to do is clear up maybe any confusions or just add to the conversation here today. Rick, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Dustin. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We're coming closer and closer to your I guess end date and start date. How are you feeling? Are you fired up?
I mean, 2 weeks from today will be our last day on eBay, and then another 2 weeks after that, well, 10 days after that, we're going to launch. So November 3rd, we're going to launch, and then you're going to start seeing auctions, shortly after that.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and fire off the first question. So this one was from at New Tone Producer. And the question he had is, I'm guessing that the difference between max bid and a snipe is that a snipe is something you can change your mind on right before it happens, whereas a max bid stays once you choose it. Do I have that right?
You can't retract a bid. You can only do only we can retract bids. So you can make it higher. But let's say if you bid $40,000 and it's a $400 item, only we have the administrative right to retract bids, which is pretty standard on most platforms. The basic difference between a max bid and a snipe bid is that a max bid will hit right away, and assuming that there's an underbidder, it can get to whatever price that you put it at. The snipe will only hit with 2 seconds left. And then whenever a snipe hits, by definition, it'll automatically cause a extended bidding. So it'll reset to 15 seconds. And that way the other bidders have a chance because a snipe hit and then they can get back in. But the snipe is actually different than other snipes. So like I used BidNapper when I would snipe on eBay. And, your snipe is one time. This is a recurring snipe, so it's cohesive with the extended bidding. And that's actually a tool that nobody else has developed yet. I'm sure somebody else is going to, now that they see us doing it, they're going to come out with it. But we're the only ones right now where you can have snipe with extended bidding.
Okay, got it. One thing too, I wanted to clear up some confusion here because I don't know if I thought that it was clear last week, but the username for the person that is bidding will be public.
Yes.
Of course, what they've bought won't, like, over time won't be public, but the username will be there every time, so people can kind of see and see, like, okay. It would be kind of easy to see if somebody is trying to really work up a price, if they're doing it over and over again, you would have that full, username there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to know who you're interacting with anytime there's a social media aspect to the site. It's kind of hard to have a conversation with somebody or interact with somebody if you don't really know who the person is. So we think that that's important, and we want to have that interaction on the platform. But I never was able to figure out why you need to see everything I bought and how much I paid for it. The seller history is different because that, you're evaluating the seller. You want to, see what they've sold, what it's sold for. You're also making a decision whether you want to use them as a consignor or possibly in terms of relationship that way. So that makes sense to me, but it never made any sense to me that I could just go in and see everybody's full bidding history. Like, why is that relevant? So we made that private.
Makes sense. Okay. All right. The next question from Philly Joe. He said, in regards to non-payers, why not just do as eBay? I think what he's trying to say is, why not just do as kind of what eBay does, immediate payment attached to a verifiable credit card?
So we have 2 types of bidders. A regular bidder, everybody's going to be auto paid, which we will have, we'll be taking that credit card and the same thing. But then we have a thing called super bidder. So the super bidder, they have like 4 or 5 different things that they can receive benefits from. They can bid in super bidder only auctions. They have some flexibility with authenticity, and then they have a little bit more payment flexibility. They don't have to pay right away. They have a week to pay. And then they pay us through ACH typically. There's other options as well, not through their credit card. And in return, they get to, receive benefits where they can bid on auctions where other people can't. And the real advantage of a super bidder is that if you're selling, a $2,000 item versus a $75 item, you want to make sure, as a seller, that your item is going to get paid. And now all the bidders are being verified previously. So that should reduce the drama. I don't think it'll make it perfect, but it'll definitely reduce the drama.
Now, I remember we were talking about too, there's not really much of a tolerance as far as non-payers go from what we were talking about last week. Is that the same for bidders and super bidders? Meaning, if you're a super bidder and you have a non-payment you don't pay, do you just kind of lose your super bidder status?
Or you'll get demoted to a regular bidder, and then in order to be a regular bidder, we're going to have to auto pay you. And obviously we'll send out multiple emails letting you know that you have a certain time frame to pay. So it'll be very clearly communicated. And then in terms of a regular bidder that's being auto paid, if there is a problem with their payment, which does happen, it's not foolproof. No auto pay system is foolproof. But if we do detect drama there, then we'll take action.
Okay. All right. There was a lot of chatter about the smack talk area or the chat feature as part of the platform, which makes sense. I think it's good that there's questions around this. So what Jevi4767 asked or stated, I guess, the smack talk area sounds like an HR nightmare. How will they regulate the environment and video production? And if seller opts to not participate in smack talk, will it impact their feedback score?
So it's on every listing. Now, in terms of things that are very inappropriate, that will be regulated. So obviously, if somebody makes a threat to somebody, then we'll take action. You can't drop F-bombs in it. That's prohibited from the technology standpoint. But it's no different than any other thread on a live auction currently. It's only going to be a new feature in the sense that I don't believe that there's any auction platform currently in our sort of greater collectibles world that we're in that has chat on a regular auction. And I believe that that's accurate. I'm sure that will change in the near future. And I think it's good. I think it's good to have people interact. I think it's good to let people make additional points about an item. And like we said before, like just because you put something in the description, sometimes it needs more information than even what's in the description. So you can write that a Michael Jordan card is a Pop 16, but it's really important to know that none have graded in the last 2 years, and that these have dried up, and that there's additional information and content that you can add to an auction.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I understand the question because I guess you're just going to kind of have to see how it goes once you launch. Is like, how bad is, like, do people actually act accordingly, or do they use it to just kind of,
I mean, I did 300 eBay lives, and in those 300 eBay lives, there's, chat going all the time. And I was interacting with the people in the chat, which increases the chat. If you're, as a seller, ignoring the chat, then it sort of kind of dies down. But if you're like, talking about everybody's comments and interacting with the people, it adds fuel to the fire in terms of what's going on there. Very rarely did we see people, acting inappropriately. And when they did, the chat sort of self-monitored. Like a guy would be like, that holder looks like it's damaged and that card's junk, right? And everybody'd be like, dude, you're just trying to win the item and make it sound bad. Or, people would just start like talking about some other form of nonsense, and people would just basically shout the guy down. So I'm with these things. I don't think that you should like over monitor. I think it's better to under monitor, and that the sort of like the community self monitor. I would rather take that approach. But if somebody is infringing on somebody else's rights or space, or making somebody feel uncomfortable in any way, creating drama, then we'll review it on a case-by-case basis and take action if we need to.
Will there be kind of like a report feature in the Snap or in the chat to where you can?
Yeah, there's a report feature on the site.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Where and when, this was asked by Dean Jackson 625, where and when can we get the app for Snype?
So we're making everything available November 3rd. So on November 3rd, you can get the app. You can apply for the affiliate marketing, where you can make money by drawing traffic onto the platform. Everything will be alive and kicking. We hope to launch, our plan is to launch with at least 10,000 items, and a couple of $1 million worth of stuff, just to get things going. But most of the items that will be on initially will probably be in the sort of comparable to kind of the stuff that we sell now, where it's anywhere from $25 to $20,000 type of stuff. We do have a Jordan rookie. I mean, not a Jordan rookie. A Mickey Mantle rookie that we're launching with. That's a $30,000 item. You know, and there'll be a few items that are here and there in that price range, but most of the stuff will be, you know, in the hundreds of dollars, low thousands of dollars, that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. We have a question from Mookie Chilson. Shout out to Mookie Chilson. He basically says, okay, authentication and customer service seem like two areas where without eBay, you would need to staff up quite a bit. What kind of hiring are you doing? Have you done? Or I guess, you know, just thoughts around that piece.
So I do have a couple of people that are going to help us with the authenticity program that we have in place on the front end, which is going to be much stronger. So when you consign something to, let's say, Mile High auctions, you know, everything on the platform is only on consignment. So there's a difference between consigning to an auction house where every item is reviewed and taking place in a marketplace where it's an open marketplace where people can post and sell whatever they want. So obviously Whatnot would be an example of that. And obviously we had recent drama with Whatnot, which is a whole other conversation in of itself, which I'm sure you saw that video.
Yeah, let's touch on that on the back end of this. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts.
So eBay is obviously an open marketplace, but Golden is not an open marketplace. Everything by Golden is basically a consignment. Open marketplace meaning you can post your own items. Now, we think that it's problematic on an open marketplace where anybody can post whatever they want, whenever they want. So we created two different types of sellers, a regular seller and a super seller. A super seller is somebody we have a relationship or knowledge of that there's going to be no drama with their listings. They are an expert and they are going to make sure that there's no items where you're ever going to be able to push back and be like, you didn't state that that item was altered, or you didn't tell me that, you know, that was XYZ. Everything will be, you know, 100% with those sellers. Then the other sellers, you know, on the other open marketplaces, they can basically take a Joe DiMaggio autograph and post it with a notary of some guy from upstate New York without a JSA or a PSA. And that item, even though it has a notary, could be a fake notary and could be a fake item. All those items that are posted by regular sellers will have to be reviewed by us before we allow them to be live on the platform. So we're going to have probably, in my opinion, the best authenticity on the front end to make sure that all those kind of items that do produce drama won't get posted on the platform in the first place. So if it's a super seller, they're going to be good to go. We're going to review that account. Now, the super seller conversation bridges in to the sneaker guy on Whatnot. Now, there's a good chance that, you know, this guy has a gazillion transactions, and a super seller could inevitably get some either bad product or turn dark, you know, either one. I don't know the situation, you know, for sure in this case. I know what their claim is, and I know what other people are claiming what happened here. But if we ever have information on a super seller where they're posting problematic items, they're going to lose that status in 3 seconds and possibly, you know, not being able to sell on the account. But a scenario like that totally could happen.
And to clarify too, so you can sell directly on Snype, but you can also, can you also still send to you guys as a consignor, like send a Probstein to sell?
So you have many options. One is, let's say you're, you know, a guy who does everything. You live in San Diego. Sometimes you like to sell your own stuff. Sometimes you like to do consignments. So you can do a regular auction. You can do a live auction. We are building in a buy it now feature, which is coming, you know, in about a month. And then you can also say, you know what, I don't want to do this. You can consign to us, and we can do a regular auction, or we could do a live auction for you. Either one. So you have a lot of flexibility as a seller.
Got it. Okay. Good question here by Mitch Johnson 4970. Considering this is a new app, there will not be much sold history in regards to a card's trending value. will this site be able to pull up sold listings from other sites? I think what he's trying to ask is, will there be, I guess, ways to get comps through,
Yeah,
while
so
you're on Snype?
initially, no, there will be, all the comps on the site will be there, whether it's a regular auction or a live auction. Some of the other open marketplaces are very poor at giving people data from live auctions. So you can see the regular auction data, but the live auction data isn't always there. We'll have both data available for people, so you can make a decision. Oh, do I think that this type of item will do better in a live format, or would do better in a regular format? But we will not have other third-party data in there initially. I'm of the belief that most people can sort of access that. They have a subscription to Market Movers or Card Ladder or whoever they're getting their data from VCP, or they're just getting it from completed listings on another platform. There's a lot of good places to get data from.
All right, I'm going to throw this at you because I think it's just fun for the drama, if you will, for the video. But this is more of a statement, and I guess this is somebody like thinking out loud of like, and I'll just read it to you. So NH Card Hunters, he says, I remember when PWCC created their own site, it didn't go well. I like Rick, but why try to reinvent the wheel? eBay covers it all from fees to taxes, 1099s at the end of the year for sellers. And in case you just woke up from a long nap, the economy is shutting down. Total U.S. household debt, $18 trillion, all those things. Job creation becoming more non-existent, recession fears, all that, blah, blah, blah. I think the last thing I'd be doing is creating a new selling platform and hanging out for hours in a mind-numbing live selling arena that eBay already does. Tell me again what is fun and enjoyable about that. I'm sorry, but if that's what someone calls fun, well, then it's high time to find a new port of call. So it's more of a statement than anything else. But I guess the question is, why now? And what prompted it? And I guess I'll let you just take it from there.
Well, I do feel that there's a need for a better mousetrap out there, and I feel like we have created a better mousetrap. I buy and sell pretty much on at least a dozen different platforms, and I would say that combined between all the different platforms, I've discovered between 35 and 50 different pain points. So what we did is we tried to come up with good, creative, solid solutions for all those pain points. And at the same time, there's a lot of great things that a lot of the platforms do. And in those cases, we replicated where we thought that people have it right, and we fixed the things where people think don't have it correctly. I think the main area where the industry is lacking is just sort of like, I live in my house, we get a package from Amazon every day. And Amazon has destroyed everybody because of logistics, and logistics matter. And I think that once people drill down and see what we're doing with logistics in terms of sellers not having to ship directly to bidders and the bidders having a 30-day window to buy, I think it's really going to change people's perception of the platform and the need for the platform. I think that the result will be the other platforms taking a look at their business models, similar to how when Amazon passed over other sellers on e-commerce and say, why aren't we doing this? They're doing it better. And I think it's just a better business model where, you can sell on a platform and you don't have to focus on the logistics and the customer service. You can just do what you enjoy doing, and you don't have to worry about all the stuff on the back end.
I think about too, just people that are trying to start a business in this space and live selling, and and really buying, selling is really the biggest part of that. If you can simply, jump on Snype, sell, kind of do the thing that you want to do, and then you just ship everything away to Snype, and then they handle, as you said, all the fulfillment and then all the customer service on the back end. I mean, that sounds about as that sounds pretty good for people that might just not have the capital to be able to have a shipping person, or might not have the time themselves to be able to run it. That part just seems like an absolute no-brainer.
And even if you have a big operation, it adds value, because your core business might not be the back end logistics. There's only a few sellers that I know that run big operations that have fantastic reputations about shipping things real time and handling all these things. Like, I buy from many large auction houses. I bought from somebody 2 weeks ago. I paid them right away by wire. I still haven't gotten my order. You know, they're just not what they're focused on. It's not what they're good at. But we live in a world where, you know, if you want it after 2 days, you can have it after 2 days. If you want it after 30 days and take advantage of the combined shipping, and save yourself hundreds of dollars potentially on a shipping order, you'll have that ability.
Now, as we were talking about earlier, Whatnot being I would call it a competitor platform to what Snype would be. They just announced recently some changes around their mystery boxes, around the surprise boxes, and what can be sold on Whatnot. And it sounded to me like really kind of tightening it up a little bit. What are your thoughts around it as it relates to you? I mean, you're starting. Snype is going to be kind of in competition or at least adjacent to Whatnot. What were your thoughts overall?
I mean, they're an open marketplace, and we're going to be an open marketplace. We're going to have regular auctions and live auctions. I think that something needed to be done. One of the steps that we took was, I think it's great personally in terms of breaking packs, opening, doing breaks with boxes, cases, whatever you want to do. But I do not like the gambling aspect of it. So for me, the gambling aspect is when you're spinning a wheel and you're ending up with a team and you can end up literally with nothing or something that's horrible. And that to me is sort of like the gambling aspect. So we're prohibiting that on the platform. We're going to allow everything that's related to mystery, and it has to be done responsibly. Meaning like if we discover that somebody's doing a product that, let's say, they put $100,000 into the product, and they're charging back $400,000 for the product, right? And there's basically like one guy who's going to win and everybody else is losing. I don't believe that we're going to continue a long-term relationship with somebody doing that in terms of mystery. I think that the mystery community has to be responsible, and the types of people who we're going to approve as super sellers, they're going to have a history, and we're going to research every account where they're not getting the feedback where they're having a mystery product and there's massive pushback that people feel that the terms of their products are just unfair. So I think it can be done responsibly that way. I don't think that forcing them to have a full checklist, I think that might be going too far, which I believe that's what Whatnot is going to be forcing through a third party, where if you put out a product, you're going to have to release a full checklist. I think that might be going too far. But I think that the mystery people themselves have to sort of like be responsible and not too greedy. Meaning like if they have $100,000 into the product and they say to themselves, okay, we're going to release this product for $120,000 in terms of, chopping up the sales of everything. And, a certain amount of people are going to win and the other people know they're going to lose, but they're not going to get destroyed. Then, I think that that's being responsible.
So it sounds to me, if I'm reading between the lines, you will allow kind of the mystery products, the mystery boxes type sales on Snype, but not just anybody. It's got to be someone you're going to approve everybody that comes through. They probably need to be at least somewhat of a well-known entity in this space to be able
Correct.
to sell those products.
And a legit history. Now, a lot of them have very strong histories. And then there are some people that have popped up that have like really just abused people in terms of, the products that they offered where almost everybody lost money. And, you can go on the boards and you can see who these people are. We're not going to approve those sellers. So.
Now, of course, your business is always buying, selling cards. That's really the meat and potatoes, always has been for Probstein. So we just talked about kind of repacks, mystery boxes. Will there be breaking on the Snype site? And I guess how, and if so, I guess how are you going to look at that? Is it in a similar vein?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, we're going to have breaking and, you can do mystery breaks and you can do pack breaks and box breaks and case breaks and all those kind of things. And they're great. And we did them on the live. But we think that there is a level of responsibility that goes along with it. And it's when there is drama that's related to people doing a poor job and taking advantage of the customers, it becomes self-evident, and we will take action with those people. We want to have all that fun stuff, all that good stuff, but we want it to be done responsibly. But there won't be any of the spinning the wheels picking teams, because I'm of the belief that that sort of crosses the line into sort of like pure play gambling.
So it's not pick your team breaks. It'll be set up a different way. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, because
I mean,
PYT,
like,
yeah, popular.
you have a mystery product. You have packs. They could be $25 a pack. They could be $250 a pack. They could be $2,000 a pack. And you're selling them either through a buy it now or through auction, and you're opening and shipping out to the people, live. So all that fun is still there. But there won't be just, spinning the wheels with teams, and whoever opens up gets the Spurs, and whoever else gets the Magic, and just all that kind of stuff. And then there will be people who literally got the Hawks and they got nothing. Like we won't have that.
Got it. Okay. Well, we are closing in on our second episode here. Is there anything else that you want to add before we jet out? We'll be back again. The plan is to be back weekly next week. So anything else you wanted to add, Rick, before we head off?
I appreciate it. Just clarity on the dates, because we're getting a lot of communication in terms about the dates. So October 23rd is our final day of selling on the platform. There won't be anything for sale October 24th on the platform. So if you want to get a last auction in with us, we really need it by 14th, 15th, obviously latest the 16th. We might run a couple 5-day auctions. We don't normally do, but I could see that happening for us in order to have some people get it in. And then we do have people already. A guy already submitted 2,000 cards, for the opening, and people are sending us stuff now. So if you want to be, have stuff on the initial launch of Snype, which will be November 3rd, that's when the app and the site will be launched for the first time. You can send it to us now. We're making videos on every listing that's going up, so it's a lot of work. So the sooner you get it to us, the faster, and the better.
Question on that. Have you been happy, I guess, with the amount of inventory leading? And I'm sure you'll probably get a lot more over the next few weeks, but are you happy with the inventory coming to you, kind of to get the site to get the site launched? I don't think there's going to be like 5 items on Snype when it opens.
No, we're gonna open. We hope to open with 10,000 items, a couple $1 million and up. Everything from pokey cases to expensive TCG to Jordan rookies to memorabilia to vintage and we already have a Mickey Mantle rookie going in. All sorts of good stuff. I think there'll be something for everybody in there, similar to our current auctions, where it's very well rounded, between a mixture between modern, vintage, memorabilia, TCG, sports. A real wide mix, something for everybody.
All right, good stuff. Rick, thanks again for coming on for another episode, and we'll see you again next week, my friend.
Okay, Dustin, thanks so much.